all. It's really great to be here and to be able to address the parents of our dear young people. When I was pregnant with my son, I wanted to be the best mother in the world, the best actually in human history. And I wanted to do everything right and make sure that my son always cherishes my presence in his life. I wish I could say that happened, but it didn't. I made many mistakes and learned a lot of things along the way. In fact, the first time my son came to me and he told me that I don't like you with tears rolling down his cheek, it really broke my heart and it made me wonder why am I like this machine trying to get things done, forgetting who he is. And he was a growing boy, and that was like a shaking moment for me personally. Just to quote a famous psychologist, Virginia Satir, um, yeah, you can see this on the screen. Virginia Satir once said that adolescents are not monsters; they're just people trying to learn to make to make it among the adults in the world who are probably not so sure about themselves. Yeah. So yeah, adolescence is a transition period, and this period is extremely crucial for their emotional and mental well-being. During this period, a lot of changes occur in their physical being, and cognitively they start thinking for themselves. Physically, they go through hormonal and developmental changes. Your little girl or little boy suddenly looks like a young man or woman, and that's when you realize, wow, time has certainly flown by. Cognitively, you realize that they have an opinion for everything, and they are more aware of things that are happening around them, and they have something to contribute towards discussion. And socially, they are constantly trying to fit into a circle of friends. They want to be among the popular group, popular circle of friends, and they also give in to the demands of their friends to look good, and they want to be in relationships. You'll realize that their self-esteem largely depends on how they feel in their friend circle. So, like I was saying, it's a transition period where a lot of changes are happening simultaneously. There are physical changes, there are cognitive changes. Socially, you see that they're also having a lot of changes, and you tend to see that all these changes have a lot to do with how they feel emotionally. And depending on how they feel about themselves, their mood may shift from feeling embarrassed to feeling confident and in between a lot of emotions. You'll notice that times when they're able to put themselves out there, when they're able to contribute to discussions and make some valid points or even understand class lectures, you may see them as successful and as inspired to grow. But at other times, you'll tend to see that they feel worthless and insecure and insignificant. You might notice that your teenage child might show different moods in a short span of time, and you may notice for you it may come across as pure rebellion, but what's actually happening within them is that this intense shift of emotion which ends up leaving them confused and oftentimes frustrated. This intense shift of emotion can lead to conflicts between you and your children, and it can be a very, very difficult time at home. While we understand what happens with adolescents, let's take a minute and look at what happens to us. What is it that goes on for us as a parent? During this phase, we parents are going through a transition period ourselves as we slip into middle adulthood. We strive to make a work-life home balance. We see that there is stress at work, and at the same time, when we see that our children are experiencing this kind of mood shift, it can be a very, very difficult time. I want you to know that parent-adolescent conflicts are quite common, and at the same time it can be very difficult. But I want you to know that it doesn't have to be that way. When our children behave in ways that may not be appropriate, and we may go through frustration ourselves, we tend to compare our children with our neighbors' kids or our friends' kids, and as a result of that, we battle with insecurity too. We wonder if there is hope and if all our dreams about them and our futures will come crashing down. This may also be the time when there is so much of stress happening around us. But I'm here to say that there is hope. If we are willing to see and understand what is going on for our children during this phase, there is hope. It also calls for us to develop some skills of our own. And I'm sure that is why many of you were here on time. It's amazing how many of you logged in on time. And I really want to appreciate each one of you. You are here because you want to make a difference in your child's life. When we have when we got our children as a gift, just like any other product, we did not get a manual with it. And many of the things that we learn it on the job. And I really appreciate each of you for making this small effort to be a better parent. And as you put what you learn into practice, you will see small changes. Now, let's take a minute and think about our own teenage life. Reflect on maybe 30, 40 years ago and reflect on how things were. I want you to take this time to put in the chat box one person that you felt was there and understood you during that time. What was it about that person that made you feel confident about yourself? As a parent and a counselor, I understand that there are reasons why we say certain things. There are reasons why we restrict certain things from our teenage children. Why? Because we have gone before them. We don't want them to make the mistakes we made, and we want them to be safe, away from all dangers. While all that's true, I want us to take some time and see what does it look like to stop and listen and understand what's going on for them. All of us want the same thing. That's why we're here. That's why we're attending a webinar like this. We want them to be confident in themselves. We want them, as they grow up, we want them to make healthy and wise choices, to be able to make good decisions, and even to be resilient, to be emotionally resilient during tough times, and to be productive and make use of their time. And that's what all of us want here. Now we're going to just go through 3 keys that are going to help us bring them up into a much more healthier, emotionally healthy teens. Okay, so I've got 3 keys for you. The first one is nurturing healthy emotional growth. Nurturing healthy emotional growth. So one of the ways to nurture healthy emotional growth is by listening to them. Alan sir is going to be talking about the importance of identifying thoughts and feelings. And I would encourage all of you to pay close attention to this. He's going to give you beautiful keys on how you can build communication skills which you can use with your with your teens. And when you're able to do that, they're going to feel accepted, they're going to feel secured, they're going to feel loved, belonged. And as we do that, as we use these skills, we are equipping them to be emotionally healthy too. They're becoming more aware of what's going on for them. What are their moods? Why are they experiencing things in this particular way? And as they learn to figure things out by responding to their thoughts and feelings, they're able to react and respond to situations in a healthier way. I also want to mention that for us parents to be able to do that for our children, we need to be aware of our own feelings and our own thoughts. And once we're able to do that, we will be able to do that for our children. So as Alan sir is going to be talking about listening to them, I also want you to keep in mind that part of helping them grow emotionally healthy is to be able to go to help our children go through moderate amount of fear and anxiety, which helps them develop resilience. When they come through those moments of difficult situations, taking part in different events, which may seem like bigger than what they are, they are going to come out confident and feeling successful, and that directly contributes to their self-esteem. So our parenting style can range from being helicopter parents, where we don't want them to be hurt. We are so careful about what they're doing. We have an eye out for them where they move, to be completely neglectful. So we need to be able to build a balance between the two and give them goals to finish, and make sure that they're being able to be consistent with their goals. And as we expose them to these situations, they will be able to exercise their emotional fitness and become strong. So that was the first key, nurturing healthy growth, where we listen to them and where we are exposing them to moderate amount of fear and anxiety situations. The second point that I'd like to mention is preserving their identity, helping your child discover who they are. We need to understand that adolescence is a phase where they're discovering more about themselves and their identity is being shaped. Beliefs about themselves, that is, what they think about themselves, are formed through experiences at home, at school, and their social circle. And these beliefs get amplified and they conclude and form core beliefs about themselves. During stressful times, the language that we use, our tone of voice, the way we behave when things get stressed affects how they view themselves. Now, what do these core beliefs look like? It can be like, I'm responsible, I'm a failure, I'm loved, I'm capable, to I'm useless, I'm a disappointment. So these are core beliefs that young people generally form. So, what we want to do as parents is we want them to develop healthy core beliefs. And this comes by constantly reaffirming them. And even during tough times, when we face it with them rather than avoiding them, we are able to help them develop these healthy core beliefs. And one thing that happens when we tend to get angry with our kids is we use the language like, you always tend to do this. You are never responsible. You're always lazy. You never do things on time. So it's important for us to know that these are core statements that speak to the identity of the child. And when they hear it repeatedly, the strength of the core belief just tends to get stronger and stronger. Yeah. So a useful alternative is to sort of sit with them and make sure that you're not attacking them and have a healthy conversation with them. And when what we tell them when they fumble, when they fail, and the question is, can we put aside our disappointment and have a conversation with them about what has happened? As parents, we can make sure that we put systems in place for them. And when we do that, they can thrive in that system and they tend to feel more successful and more taken care of by you too. Okay, so the first one was nurturing healthy emotional growth. The second one was preserving their identity. The third one, like I would like to talk about, is having helping them set their sleep patterns, their diet in place, and making sure that they have enough of physical activity during the day. So it's no secret that one's sleep, their diet, their level of activity is linked to their emotional health. They need to learn healthy eating habits and healthy ways of taking care of their body at home. Their sleep patterns need to be set from a very young age. Many young people struggle to sleep well at night because of sleep patterns that have been built over the years. there are also young people who struggle with eating disorders and obesity, and which directly affects their emotional health. So as we set these systems in place, as we set boundaries for our children, it's also important for them to be aware of the consequences of unhealthy lifestyle. It's important for them to know why they should be sleeping on time, having at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep, 6 to 8 hours of sleep, having a healthy diet. Why is it that they need to have adequate amount of exercise? And this can be done by watching videos together and recommending articles for them. We also need to understand that this period that they're living in, this transition period that they're living, it's actually a very difficult time for them emotionally. But when they're able to put these systems in place, their sleep and diet and exercise, that is going to help them manage their stress levels. So even when they're out of their home, when things get difficult for them, when they have these three things in place, they will be able to manage stress much better. Yeah. So let's review what those key principles are for making sure that we do our part in taking care of the emotional health of our children. The first one was nurturing their emotional growth, listening to them effectively, exposing them to different situations so that they develop their emotional resilience, preserving their identity. That is the second one. Our language plays a crucial role. So helping them develop healthy core beliefs is extremely important for them to be able to preserve their identity. We also need to make sure that their sleep, their diet, their level of activity is in check, as it directly is linked to their emotional health. So if you feel that, I also want to mention that if you feel that your child is continually feeling low for a duration of more than 2 weeks, please do not be afraid to seek out for help. Yeah. So that's it from me. Over to Davis.